Alright, let's jump right into this. We're going to be going over how to tattoo fur. There are multiple ways to tattoo fur. This is just my approach, and I'm going to share that with you all today. When we're tattooing fur, it's important to break down what fur is made of. So we know that fur is comprised of numerous little hairs, so we want to showcase that on some level in our tattoo. So as you guys can see, my first step is going to be drawing on a very light layer of individual hairs. All of this is being done with a 3-round liner so that the hairs are able to be as thin as possible. If they're too thick, they're not going to look natural. We want them to be as thin as possible. I find it very effective to slowly enter the skin with the needle and quickly whip out at the end. Each hair starts out as a solid line and ends with a stipple effect, and this just ensures that there's no harsh start or end of each hair, which is just going to give it a more natural and realistic look. As we progress through the video, there will be a few key tips and tricks just like that if you don't follow, your tattoo will not have the desired look. It won't have the correct texture that we're looking for when we're tattooing fur. So when you hear stuff like that, take a note, remember it, so that next time you go to tattoo fur, you apply it and you see the proper effect. So now that my first layer is done, I'm going to repeat that exact same process, but this time I'm going to press a bit harder on the skin. It is very important to layer your work when you're tattooing realism. The first layer of fur, I like to make my light tones. Then I create my midtones. Lastly, as you can see here, I will add my dark tones. At this point, I have 3 layers of individual hairs. Each layer is a different tone, and each hair is going in its own unique direction while still maintaining the flow. It's at this time that I change to a 7 curved mag. Needle depth is totally preferential. I find it easier to be more precise if my needle hangs out a decent bit. Here I'm going to draw on more hairs just like before, but I'm making them a bit thicker by using the side of the mag. I'm trying to represent clusters of hairs that are grouped together. This makes the fur look more natural because it disrupts the uniform look of every hair being the same thickness. It is important to still taper off each marking you are creating in the skin. You don't want any of the hairs to abruptly end. You want them to feather off into the skin. After I finish that process, I go through one more time and quickly pendulum swing my mag through the fur. This just creates a softer edge for the fur and adds to the overall effect. As you can see, I repeated that process 3 times where there will be dark fur like that. At this stage, it is starting to come together. However, we need to connect the strips of dark fur we just created. This will be done using light tones and midtones. The technique I choose to form these connecting hairs is a pendulum style swing of my 3-round liner. I'm crossing some of the hairs with each other while also leaving some more parallel in case I want to add white at the very end if I feel it needs it. Some hairs will be longer than others and some will be darker than others. If you haven't noticed by now, I'm always searching for a way to disrupt the uniform look of my textures. I want it to look as natural as possible, and if every hair is the same length and direction, it will lack the natural imperfect look that we are aiming for when tattooing fur. My final step will be to use the mag again. Here I am using the mag to saturate channels of fur. By saturating everything with some level of tone except for the highlights of the piece, it will give it a more complete look. Here's the final product. At the end, I added some dots just to experiment with some more texture, but as you can see, we achieved a pretty nice fur texture on the skin. If you're tattooing real skin, you're gonna be able to achieve this a lot quicker than if you're tattooing it on fake skin. Fake skin does not absorb ink nearly as quick or as well. So if you are on fake skin, just be patient. It's gonna take time to build, but that's the whole secret to realism, is that you shouldn't be tattooing it fast anyway. If you're trying to make something look realistic, you have to craft it and you have to layer your work. Alright, that's going to be all for this tutorial. If you guys liked it, drop a like. If you have any tutorials that you would personally like to see, drop a comment down below. Besides that, y'all, if you want to see a little bit more into my life as a tattoo artist, there's going to be a video right here that I recommend y'all watch.